And this theme tonight is body, mind, spirit. And it is in conjunction with the LGBT Heritage Project NI as part of LGBT History Month. I hope I'm getting this all right. And also working with Pride. And we'll hear a little bit more about both of those shortly. This is the highlight of my month, as I keep saying. So three highlights this month. So this has helped get me through lockdown, especially the winter one, which has been very tough, as I'm sure we all know. Anyway, I've probably wittered on enough. So I'm going to call on one of our sponsors tonight, and it is the wonderful Annette Whelan. You should be able to see her. And you are not mute, is that correct?
Yep. Hey, Paul.
Okay, and that's lovely to see you. Do you want to tell everybody here what you do, please?
Sure, I'll be very brief about this. Paul, I am one of the co-chairs of Working with Pride. Working with Pride is a network of corporate pride networks within Northern Ireland. So we launched it back in July 2014, and our aim was to help increase visibility of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender staff within the Working with Pride member organisations. So we're a fully inclusive network for workplace LGBT plus network leads and their allies. And I suppose our main aims are we want to share best practice and promote equality in the diversity and inclusion space in Northern Ireland. And we want to provide a communication channel for all our members. And we want to make sure that our member organisations are the employers of choice in Northern Ireland. So I am absolutely delighted to be able to partner with the LGBT Heritage Project tonight, as well as teaming up with yourselves, Paul. I know that we always have a great time on our 10 by 9 nights. It's just a pity we're not sitting in the offices of Pinsent Mason with a fully stocked bar, enjoying the stories. But hopefully this is equally as good. So I'll hand over to Richard, hopefully, if he's on the call.
Yes, let me spotlight the man. Spotlight for everyone. There you go, Richard.
Good evening. And the LGBT Heritage Project is a 2-year project funded by the Heritage Fund, and it's led by Here and I in partnership with the Rainbow Project and Cara Friend. And our project is called The Troubles I've Seen, and the main aim is to collect, share, and conserve the hidden heritage of the LGBT community in Northern Ireland in the 1980s and 1990s. So our 16 volunteers are busy locating queer objects, seeking out places from our LGBT past, and discovering LGBT stories. We're recording these and creating a new LGBT digital archive to conserve them. And we are already sharing them via our social media. And you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram on @LGBT History NI, or come along to our LGBT History Club, which meets monthly, also online. Everything's online. Our next meeting is next Tuesday night. And thank you very much for 10 by 9 for the opportunity, and the opportunity also to Working with Pride. Enjoy your evening.
Sally Bridge, where are you, Sally Bridge? Ah, there you are, Sally.
In one glance, she took in my sweaty, hairy body, and with a dismissive sniff declared, "You've got it on upside down." I've always had a difficult relationship with the clothes that I put on my body. As a child, the only dress I wanted to wear was that of an altar boy. In fact, at the age of 9, I built up the courage to ask my priest if I could have one, if I could become one. The next time I attended early morning mass, he beckoned me over to the vestry, heart pounding, kind of like now. I made my way across the church, fumbling a quick genuflection in my hurry to realize my dream. Once inside this hallowed ground, I saw that the priest was there with his altar boys in all their wonderful regalia. The priest bent down to my ear and whispered, "So you want to be an altar boy?" "Yes," I replied, breathless with anticipation. "Well, you can't," he said, and the altar boy sniggering in the background, he ushered me back into the church, my humiliation complete. I hated wearing dresses and skirts and resisted wearing them from the moment I had a choice. There's a photo of me looking incredibly sulky on a visit to my grandma as I was forced to wear a long, flowing, flowery skirt with a vest top sewn onto it. I know, gorgeous. I was not a happy chappy and felt very exposed. On another photograph, however, I'm glowing with radiant bliss as I was allowed to wear the same type of high-waisted button-up flares as my big brother. Well, it was the 70s, but I was chuffed to bits, and I can still remember the nylon fabric swishing around my legs with a feeling of pride and belonging. Given my preferred look of jeans and a t-shirt, I guess it was hardly surprising that I would often be mistaken for a boy. At a disco in the local village hall, girls ran out screaming when I walked into their toilets. At the tender age of 11, having hit puberty early and already starting to need a bra, this was quite perplexing. Then my mum took me to get new shoes for starting big school. She asked for sturdy black school shoes and was horrified when the shop assistant brought out big boys' brogues. As she sent the assistant back for more feminine wear, she turned to me and said, "Stick your chest out, love." Secretly, I would have loved the brogues, but put up with the girly ones for the sake of peace. Luckily, going to a comprehensive school in the northwest England, girls wearing trousers was never an issue, so I was spared the indignities which must be suffered by butch girls at schools over here. While I would cheerfully admit as a young teenager that I was a tomboy, I struggled with the growing feeling that I was developing for people of the same sex. Looking back, I had serial crushes, which started with the blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl in primary school, who I stood up to protect against the school bullies. Then there was the older, more experienced teenager who told me about sex with boys, and that wrist stroking was a surefire way of getting them going. I have no idea about that. I kind of knew about being gay, but it was something shameful, and despite my growing feelings, I was blissfully ignorant of the world around me. I hadn't the foggiest that Kenny Everett might be gay, and when I found out about Freddie Mercury, what a shock! I can't believe how naive I was. Not really knowing what to do with this side of me, I tried to fit in with the other girls. This involved torturous trips to the local market to buy dresses and skirts with my friend. Given that this was the 80s with the new wave style of flouncy collars and shoulder pads, this was never going to be a good look and left me feeling like I was in drag. But somehow, I don't know how, I managed to get a boyfriend and pass very well. At university, when it would have been the ideal time for me to embrace my true self, I found myself engaged to an Irishman. In hindsight, this and my long hair was all I needed to deflect attention from my androgynous looks, which would have quickly pegged me as a dyke these days. I did at some point have a go at wearing flowery skirts again, but that was only to get the attention of my latest girl crush. My secret desires burned deeply underneath. I persuaded a housemate to go and see Desert Hearts, a lesbian film showing at FilmSoc. It was shown in a lecture theatre, and I think I gripped the front desk for the duration, carefully timing my swallows for the noisy moments. I was totally transfixed. Despite this deep awareness of myself, and having had 2 relationships with women by this time, I still never even considered the option of coming out for 1 second. This was just not for me. I began to prepare for my wedding after university. On the advice of my mom and sister, I found myself in a small underwear boutique where I'd been sent to purchase a basque. I was terrified and sweating profusely by the time I had built up the courage to go in. After much deliberation about size, style, and colour, the shop assistant finally found the right basque for me. She bundled me into the changing room, which to my horror was just a light piece of cotton curved around one corner of the shop. I stripped down and negotiated the contraption. After several minutes struggling, I had to ask for assistance. Only when she drew back the curtain, in full view of the whole shop and anyone passing by outside, did I realise that I had 6 months' worth of hairy growth on my legs and underarms and was wearing odd socks. She took one look at the mess in front of her, only to tut and announce, I had it on upside down. So in 1990, I married the Irishman. I wore a flowing, puffy-sleeved, cinch-waisted ivory wedding dress and was correctly squished into the basque. I did love him, but in hindsight, it was the love for a friend. 5 years later, I left him. I was pregnant and coming out to the world, but that is definitely another story. Being mistaken for a boy or a man has continued to dog me throughout my life, particularly when I shaved off my long hair. Over the years, I have perfected the art of deflecting potential embarrassment and passing it straight back. Once in my early 30s, while paying for a CD, The shop assistant took my bank card back to his manager. The manager came over to me and in front of the whole store declared smugly, "This card says Miss Sally Bridge." I was wearing a baggy bomber jacket over a vest top, so I calmly unzipped my jacket, looked him in the eye and said, "Yes." His customer service skills went into overdrive after that, I can tell you. Another occasion was on a trip to the Grand Opera House with my stepson's dad to watch La Boheme. On entering the toilets, it's always the toilets. On entering the toilets during the break, a very well-dressed woman with a plummy Cherry Valley accent barred my way, declaring loudly, "This is the ladies, this is the ladies." To which I replied, "Yes, and these are breasts." Even last week at the recycling depot, the guy at the gate greeted me with a "Right, mate," before becoming embarrassed as his gaze went behind the short hair and clothes to the finer features, and he realized his mistake. My family and friends all forgot about the hair and the piercings as they see past them to the real me. For strangers, however, there's rarely a sense that they look beyond the front cover to find the reality of the book. So now I'm in my 50s. I've been with my partner for 20 years. I still hate dresses and loathe going to the women's clothing department where everything seems to have a frilly edge. I'm much happier shopping in the menswear department, but these tricky boobs invariably get in the way. So I'm about to become a grandmother and also the mother of the groom. The grandmother bit I can cope with. I am ready, willing and able. But what the hell do I wear as mother of the groom? Thank you.
Sally, thank you very much. What are you going to wear? That's what we want to know.
I was thinking I might go back to the flared trousers that I was wearing there.
Yeah, very good.